Hello everyone, I am the Objective Gamer and welcome to the video. This video is the first in a series that will be aimed at helping you get the most out of the RS3 interface. Today's video will be focusing on how to manipulate the aesthetics of your interface to make it both easy on the eye while being practical enough for you to escape at your best. So the first thing I want to talk about is the legacy interface. What you see on screen right now is the legacy interface mode in Runescape 3. This is largely what the interface looked like since the release of Runescape 2 in 2004, up until the evolution of combat in 2012. This is a good enough interface for almost all aspects of the current game. However, there are some severe limitations if you're fond of customization or attempting more of the faster paced activities such as higher level PvM. For example, you only have one action bar, which consists of 14 slots. You can switch between action bars by either clicking these arrow buttons, or by right-clicking the number and selecting a specific one. This has obvious limitations when you find yourself using more than 14 abilities on a regular basis. You can only have one interface pane open at any one time. Now I don't know about everyone else, but I prefer to have all the information that I need on hand immediately, rather than having to click another pane to get to it. As well as this, the chat window and the interface panes are not movable and also not resizable. They are as they are on the screen right now and they cannot be changed. Finally, there is no buff indicator. For example, if I drink this overload potion, apart from the initial animation, I have no idea that I've drunk an overload. There's nothing on this interface at all that tells me that I am under the effect of an overload right now. And the only time I will know when an overload will run out is when the chat prompts me. So that's the legacy interface. Now I'm going to show you what Runescape 3 is designed to look like in 2017. Changing between the two is fairly straightforward. All you need to do is press your escape key, head into your game settings, and look for the legacy interface mode checkbox. And to get back to the RS3 interface, all you need to do now is just untick this. There we go. So we can immediately see that we have a ton of stuff going on, but don't be scared. Most people don't need this much information. This is just what I personally like to have open. Now, there are a bunch of default presets that you can use if you would like a starting point or just want some inspiration. Simply press the escape key, head to the quick load layout, and just select a different one. Most of them are pretty basic, and they don't account for your screen resolution. I'm running a bit of an old monitor which displays at 900p, and you can clearly see that some of the bars and windows are a bit out of place. However, it doesn't take too much to move them around. First thing you want to do is check if your interface is locked. The default shortcut for this is L, and it will either show you a lock or an unlock, depending on the state of your interface. If you find you're unable to move or resize any of your windows, it's most likely this is the culprit. Moving and resizing windows in Runescape is almost identical to how you do it on your Mac or PC. To resize, simply put your cursor on the edge of a window, click and drag until the desired size. To move a window, place your cursor on the top bar until it turns into a cross, and then click and drag until you're satisfied. Runescape 3 also has an inbuilt window snap assist. So when you move a window into a gap, like so, it will attempt to intelligently resize itself to fit that gap. Now, this isn't always desirable, but in most cases it's pretty helpful. Resizing action bars is a little bit different. They can either be 1 or 2 rows, or 1 or 2 columns, and this is due to the limitations of their grid layout. So without further ado, let's get started with the first and most important part of the interface. The ribbon is the central part of the Runescape 3 interface that contains links to every window available. If you ever close something by accident, you'll be able to reopen it via the default ribbon layout. Now, I usually have mine on the default setting, as I have most of my required windows open already, but you can customize your ribbon to display the buttons that you want. For example, to open your music player, to get the name of that lit AF RuneScape tune to add to your gains playlist. To switch between the default mode with the ribbon and the custom one, just click on the little checkbox in the bottom right corner. Note that the ribbon is subject to the same resizing rules as the action bars, 1 or 2 rows, or 1 or 2 columns. Using the ribbon itself is pretty self-explanatory. Simply click on an icon to be taken to the corresponding window. Click it again to close it. The trickier part is playing around with the custom ribbon, which is what I'll show you how to do now. Once you're in the custom ribbon view, click on the drawer icon to the right. This will bring up the ribbon setup. In this window you will notice 3 distinct areas: the management window, the action window, and the ribbon bar. The ribbon bar is what it will look like when you finish customizing. To change what is on the bar, you can either click one of the windows, or drag and drop to the ribbon. Only the first 8 icons will be immediately visible. Anything else you add will be nested under the drawer icon, like so. The upgrades and extras icon unfortunately is not removable, and is required to be one of the first 8 icons. Thanks, Jamflex. Thanks very much. The icons in the management window are identical to the ones on the default ribbon. They open up their own window when clicked on, and also have their related action windows nested inside their icon as shown. Note that if you do add a related action window to the bar, it will cease to be nested in the management window set it belongs to. The next 2 things are my equipment window and stats window. Both will adapt dynamically to how big or small you make them. As you can see, if I make my window big enough, it will show my full avatar, and if I make it smaller, it will rearrange itself. The stats window has similar properties. The next thing we can see is the combat mode icon and the buff bar. This shows what the current combat mode is and any debuffs or buffs we are under. You can currently see the familiar icon with the timer next to it. This shows how long your current familiar will last. Other indicators include stat modifiers. For example, if I drink this magic potion, you'll see the magic stat buff icon will appear. If I drink this Saradomin brew, you will see that the debuff icon for my combat stats also appear. As I sometimes switch between full manual and revolution combat modes, I tend to keep the combat mode icon on. However, if you never switch between the two, you can toggle off this option in the combat settings here. The next thing you'll see is my main chat window. Now, I've not done anything too special to it, but there are a couple of tips I can give you. You can disable unwanted chat windows by going to your game settings, and then to the chat settings. Here you can see the checkboxes related to that. There are also a few other nice options at the top here, for example timestamps, and also the ability to shorten your channel prefixes. As you can see, my clan chat says CC instead of the full clan name. I'm pretty sure I can remember the name of my clan without having to be reminded of it every time someone chats. Click-through chat boxes is quite useful. It gives you a bit more of the 3D world to play around with. As you can see, I can click through my chat boxes to interact with the world. Splitting private chat is also quite nice. It gets rid of the main private chat window and compacts it into a small movable area. Hiding player login and out notifications is also quite useful. As the larger your friends list is, the more spammy this can get, as you can see. So I generally have this disabled. Hiding public chat and effects in game view just means you won't be able to see things such as flashing or coloured text. For example, obviously this can get quite annoying, so I generally have this toggled off as well. The next thing I want to talk about is my action bars. As you can see, I have more than the one default action bar. In legacy mode, as I mentioned earlier, you can only have this one. To get extra action bars, simply go into your game settings, and then into your action bar settings. And here it will allow you to select up to 4 additional action bars, so by simply clicking on the drop down box and selecting which one you want. To customize a keybind, simply click the slot on the action bar and then go to the customize keybind function. This takes you straight into the controls interface where you can specify a keybind right here. Other noteworthy things about the action bar include this, which is the same as your regenerate ability in your spellbook. Clicking this sword will toggle auto retaliate on and off. This button will turn your crit prayers on and off. And clicking on this bar will switch between your summoning points and your familiar special move points. The familiar icon itself will also have its own options. To lock your action bar, simply click on the lock icon in the bottom right, and further combat settings can be found here, where you can choose the experience you gain and a few other miscellaneous options. Moving on, we have my friends chat settings. I literally only have this just for the loot share button, and next to this is my familiar backpack. The reason why I have it this size is because it exactly encompasses all 30 slots of my pack yak without having to scroll. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, something's different. Don't worry, you've not gone crazy. I have indeed switched to my 1080p monitor, and this is the interface preset I have for it. I'm just going to show you the final couple of tips to help you make your interface look the way you want it to. The first is how to hide the title bar of your windows. By default, this is what they look like, and are pretty ugly when not hidden and take up a lot of unnecessary space. So all you need to do is head to your interface options and make sure the hide title bars when locked checkbox is ticked. As you can see, they disappear and then give you a lot of free space. You may have also noticed this thing down here. This is my Slayer counter, and simply tells me exactly in real time how many Slayer monsters I have left to kill. And, if I put my mouse over it, also tell me what I'm killing. To enable it, all you need to do is head to your interface settings again, and make sure your Slayer counter checkbox is ticked. And finally, the transparency bar, which will do exactly what you expect it to do, as you can see on screen right now, changing the transparency just by sliding it up and down. And there you have it. You should have all the tools and knowledge you need to build yourselves a truly great looking interface, and I'm really looking forward to what everyone can come up with. Please feel free to post your own interface screenshots in the comments. In the next video, I'll be going through some not so obvious game options that can really make your life easier while playing. But until then, stay objective everyone.